Do you mind introducing yourself?
I don't mind. My name is Amanda, and I'm one of the Consecrated Virgins in the Archdiocese of Detroit, and I'm the DRE in our parish of St. Basil.
Consecrated Virgin. So a consecrated virgin isn't, you don't hear that often. Do you explaining what that is exactly? Like maybe like even the history, going a little bit into the history of what it is, but like, how you ended up coming to, and also how you ended up coming to be a consecrated virgin, just because it isn't like a religious sister. It's wholly different, right?
Yeah, it's very different, I would say. Yeah. The history goes back from it's actually the first consecrated life that ever started in church. Religious life started after that. Then, unfortunately, some of the Holy Fathers in the past wanted to do away from this kind of life, consecrated virginity.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole story behind that, but I don't remember the names of the popes. I should have looked into that, but
oh, it's okay.
Yeah, but then it was in 1970 that it came back, and it's been growing ever since.
When it comes to religious sisters and consecrated virgins, what makes them separated? Or what separates them, I should say?
Okay, well, religious sisters, they live in community and they take vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. That's something that consecrated virgins don't do. The consecrated virgins are actually, it's their virginity that's consecrated. They don't make a vow. So it's, a lot of it is, it's on you. You don't have like someone to keep you accountable, really. And it's actually, in a way, it makes it a harder form of life in that way. Because I experienced both, so I could tell you that.
Right. Okay, no, that's fine. Okay, so how did you become a consecrated virgin? Like, do you mind walking through like your discernment?
Okay, right. So the reason why I considered consecrated virginity is because after I had left my religious order, I did discern many other orders to go into to continue my consecrated life. But none of them worked out. I didn't feel like at home in any of the places. And so I had asked my spiritual director, even before I started discerning new religious orders. I had asked him what he thought about consecrated virginity, and he suggested that I go and discern some religious orders. And so after I did that, and I came back with no success, that's when he said, okay, you could go ahead and look into this. One of the other consecrated virgins in the Archdiocese kind of interviewed me, and she gave me all the information, about this vocation. And over a period of one year or 2 years, I finally became a consecrated virgin.
Okay, so it's not just like it's still treated in the same way as religious life, where there is a like serious time of discernment. Like with seminary, typically like it's the entirety of seminary where you're discerning, not just prior to entering the seminary. And then with religious life, it's not just like there's a trial period, like you said, with
right. Religious life is much longer, up to like 7 years. Yeah. You have the aspirancy, the postulancy, the novitiate, and then when you do take your vows, you still have like 3 years, up to 3 years to until you take your final vows. Whereas, Whereas consecrated virginity, there is no vow. There's a time of a discernment process where the other consecrated virgins get to know you. You learn a little bit about what it's all about. And and then they discern whether or not they think the life is for you or not.
So if they were to say that it's not, and you thought it still was, what would happen?
I wouldn't be able to do anything, but
Okay.
I could maybe ask my spiritual director if I could do private vows. That's usually one thing you do. You do private vows for a certain amount of years. They do highly suggest that because you kind of get to know for yourself if that would be the life for you or not. For me, it's different because I lived the religious life for so many years. They didn't really worry about, my wanting to like maybe get married or something, or because that was just, set in my heart. It's like that's something for me that I wouldn't even think of. And that's one of the reasons why, too, I think that I continued in this path, because I just wanted to continue to be a bride of Christ, a spouse of Christ, and this was the only way I could see how I could still accomplish that. And in a way, too, it helped me because I do prefer the community life because you have a lot of support to live your life out, to be faithful to prayer and to many other things like discipline. But I think God allowed this too also in a good way, because then I could like exercise my spiritual muscles, because it's not easy to be disciplined when you're on your own.
Right.
So it takes more of an effort and maybe more abandonment in God and asking for His help every day to be faithful. Yeah.
So is it possible, I guess, just because you said you were a religious sister and now you're a consecrated virgin, are you able to go the other way on that, where you could become a religious sister?
Yeah.
After being.
Yes, I was told that you can. Actually, I know a sister. She was in our order, and the order that I used to belong to. She became a consecrated virgin after, and then she actually founded the order.
Okay. So okay, so like that's a very interesting dynamic. It's interesting because when you read about the early church, you hear about consecrated virgins, especially when it comes to emperors and governors and stuff, trying to get women to marry them that are Christians, and they have you hear that they've made vows towards Christ and that they're basically off limits, and because of that they end up dying, because the governor and the Roman the Roman authorities wanted them as wives, and so you hear a lot of that, and then moving through and just like you said, they're the first form of consecrated religious life for women, and so that's like really nice to hear. That it's weird that there was a hiatus for consecrated life.
For this form, I think it had to do with women, because I don't know if at that time they wore the habit, but and I'm sorry again, I don't know the name of the Pope, but one or two of them were against the idea, because I guess because religious life became so much more prevalent at that moment of time, that for them it just seemed like it wasn't normal you could have consecrated virginity within an order, within a religious order, within and actually at that time there were only cloistered sisters too. So you would be a cloistered sister, and then if you wanted to have your virginity consecrated, that's the only place you would have it done. You wouldn't be living out in the world. Yeah,
okay.
so
Good.
yeah, you could probably look it up and see what more or less when that was, but
yeah,
it was 1970. It was 1970 that it came back.
So like when it comes to saying like your virginity is consecrated, I guess what exactly does that mean? Does that just mean like, when I say just mean, I don't mean that it's like less than in any way. I'm not trying to disparage it in any way. That it's, you're devoting that part of your life to God and God alone.
Yes, it's like it's set apart for God. Mm-hmm. So it's not a, it's not like a secular, I guess you would say, virginity. It's given to God, so it's consecrated. Yeah. So.
Okay, that's great. So what, when it came to your discernment process, what did you do? So like, I understand this is going to be towards the religious sisters. What did you do to discern going into religious life?
So that was in the 80s. So yeah, so it was a little bit different back then because we didn't have internet. Yeah, so when I decided to become a sister, or when I felt like I was called, I had sent my name into Twin Circle, my information into I don't know if you would remember, or maybe your mother would remember. I don't know. It was a magazine, Twin Circle, and you could write your name and your contact information to them, and they would send your contact information to all the different religious orders in the United States that were approved by the Holy Father.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, so I started getting a lot of mail from different places, and so I got there was one that I liked a lot because they were very personal. They hand wrote it, and it wasn't printed out, so it was very personalized. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of looking into Franciscan or Carmelite. So this was Franciscan. They were the Franciscan Sisters of the Martyr St. George. They're in Alton, Illinois. Okay. So I ended up going to visit them, and I think it was my second time on the plane. But I was around 17 or 18. And so one of the things that happened there is that they have meditation. Most religious orders have meditation in the morning after lauds. And so I didn't have anything to meditate on, but there was a Bible in front of me. And so I picked up the Bible and asked the Holy Spirit to show me what he wanted me to read. And when I opened it up, the first thing my eyes set upon was go, leave your home, family, and country. Go to the place I will show you.
Wow.
So the words to Abraham. But I didn't continue reading. I just thought, oh my goodness, I think this is for me, because I asked God to speak to me. So I put the Bible down and started meditating on that. And I was thinking, I wonder if these sisters have missionary sisters, because I heard, leave your country. This translation had that exact word, leave your home, family, and country. That's whatever translation that was. I don't remember which one it was, but that's what it said. So I asked the sisters after if they had missionary sisters. They did. but in the end, I didn't feel called to them. And I ended up meeting a religious order that came to the Marian Congress in 1988 during the Marian year. And I met the foundress, and the spirituality was about mainly about Marian consecration, Saint Maximilian Kolbe's spirituality. And I just loved everything she was saying about the spirituality of the order. And so I just knew right away that that's what I was called to. And so I ended up actually leaving the country right away because they didn't have a novitiate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in the United States yet. I think it was only 6 years old, this order. And they weren't approved fully. They were a pious union at that time, I think. But then they ended up being totally, fully approved by the church by the time everything happened when I had to leave. But so that's how I found the order at the Marian Congress in Libertyville, Illinois.
Okay. And so, like, you said you went abroad. Where did you go?
Oh, Rome.
Rome? Okay.
That's where the novitiate was.
You're in Rome. How many years are you in the order?
It would be from 1989 to 2013.
Oh, okay. So a very long time. And then you said it dissolves.
Yes.
Right? And so what happened that caused it to dissolve?
Well, it was in 2008. The mother foundress had to step down because of health issues. So the new mother foundress that took her place, the new mother general that took her place, she ended up finding things out that were going wrong within the institute that she tried to correct. And the mother foundress was not agreed about correcting these things. So the new mother general had to go to the church authorities to present everything that she found. And
wow, this is like not a small thing.
Yeah. And so the mother foundress ended up leaving, and about 20 sisters left with her to form a new order. That one ended up becoming suspended too. The church, in the end, the church would not allow her to begin any more orders, and she was like, she couldn't wear the habit anymore officially. Let's just say.
Wow. Okay. So she takes 20. The original founder leaves and takes 20 people, 20 religious sisters with her, and then you and everyone else is trying to like.
Yeah, about maybe in the end, about 20 or 20, 15 or 20 to 20 stayed in the order, and then everyone else just left altogether. We were like 100.
Oh wow!
So we ended up getting a apostolic visitor at first, and then that wasn't enough, so they had to give us an actual. I think in English you would say commissioner or commissary.
Yeah.
And that was a sister from another religious order who worked as our mother general, like what a mother general would do. So, and then little by little, we had meetings, and in the end, we were very few left, and of the few that were left, no one was, practically not even 2 people, maybe there was no one agreed to how the charism should be lived, how the religious life should be lived. So the mother foundress was like a glue that kept everything together. But then when she left, everything fell apart.
Right, because it got too focused on her.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's
yeah.
Holy crap! All right, so that must have been a lot of things for you. Like, I mean, because it's like, I mean, from the outside, for me, it's like, all right, well, this sounds very scandalous. This sounds very like, there's that like entertaining factor, but at the same time, you're talking about like religious order, right? Like, you're talking about people who have devoted their lives to God and living it a particular way. And, for you, that is a very big, it's a very big deal, because that's your life. And so, I guess just because, like, a lot of people like, the reason why I say it that way is because I know a lot of people like scandal, but at the end of the day, it's people that are the victims of that type of scandal. And so, that's what I'm bringing attention to. So that's, so I know it sounds a little weird, but I think that's like missed a lot of the time. So 2013, it dissolves, and you go for the next, what is it, 10 years, you're discerning something else, or?
Well, so what the church authorities gave us, what we decided in the end to do is have everyone go to have a period of time to discern what they're going to do. Okay. A handful of us went to different religious orders. One was successful. There's one that actually became a cloistered sister, or two of them actually, one a Carmelite and one a Port Clare. And several of them actually were young enough and they actually really didn't have a vocation. And you could tell by the way they lived the religious life. And they ended up getting married, and now they have beautiful family lives. Some of them, it's really interesting because you name it, that's what happens. Like some of them actually, some of them left the church.
Oh, wow!
Right. Some of them. Two of us became consecrated virgins.
Oh yeah.
Although my first intention was to go to another religious order, so I had actually went to one in Michigan. I met this order when they came to Rome. They came to like the place that I was staying. I was staying at a shrine, Our Lady of the Miracle Shrine in Rome. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of Americans come to see that shrine because it was where St. Maximilian Kolbe had his first mass. And the Blessed Mother appeared there to Alphonse Ratisbonne. That's another neat story if you want to hear about that. And he was converted because of this, the miraculous medal he was wearing that someone had given him. So that's where I was stationed. For 16 years, I was there. And so this religious order, they came in. It was another Marian order. And I ended up going straight to them from the convent practically after like a week of just spending like a home visit. Mm-hmm. But I went kind of like through a dark night of the soul with them. Right. And so they kind of understood that too. And then I understood after that I still had to mourn the loss of the family that I had, because it was like a real family that I had, lost. Even now thinking of it, kind of tears kind of, come to me. But so there was like a mourning process that I didn't allow myself to go through. But I still felt called to the religious life. So, in my stubbornness, I continued looking for different orders because I thought, well, maybe it's just that order that wasn't the right one. But everywhere I went, the same thing happened.
Oh, really?
Practically.
Okay, so you're saying you went to a different religious order and then that one dissolved?
No, the religious order that I went to in the beginning, the first one that I went to after I left, I just didn't feel like I was called to be there. I had like a dark night of the soul there. So without getting into details, they said that I should maybe take time to mourn the loss of my religious life because they saw that I hadn't given myself the chance to do that, and it was necessary to do that. So they had actually said for me to come back in a year after, because they thought it was actually a mourning process that I had to go through. And they invited me to come back after, but then, like I said, I'm stubborn, and so I just kept looking for, so.
I mean, yeah, like and just to think of that as a convent, I wonder how many people reflect on, I guess just generally, how many people think, oh, a convent's a family.
It is, yeah.
And that, like, hearing it in that term, in those terms, is very different than I think how a lot of definitely how the secular world doesn't. They don't look at it that way, and their portrayal of convents are pretty bad in that regard.
Yeah, and even with the many of the different things I went through that weren't the best experiences, I would still, knowing everything now, I would still make that same decision because I would not have been able to grow the way I did spiritually, humanly, and it was a beautiful experience. But I just look at my life too as being like a continuation, like a tapestry that kind of like, it doesn't stay the same all the time. So different colors come in, and I've heard of that.